Have you ever wondered how our sexuality and spirituality are woven together and how both shape the way we birth and rebirth ourselves? Hi, I'm Deborah Pascali Bonaro, director and host of the Orgasmic Birth podcast, and I'm really thrilled you're here with us today. Before we dive in, I want to share a quick invitation for all doulas, midwives, and birth workers listening. If you feel called to bring more joy, pleasure, and healing into birth, I'd love for you to join our Orgasmic Birth Practitioner Advanced Program and global community. This is where we come together to deepen skills, share wisdom, and support each other in bringing a new paradigm of birth into the world. And that leads me to today because I am honored to introduce one of our newest orgasmic birth practitioners, Zina Grace. Zina is a certified labor and postpartum doula through Birth and Baby University, a DONA International Impact Scholar working toward her certification, and a former licensed trauma-informed school counselor and clinically pastorally trained educator. She is also the founder of Altar of Birth doula services and beyond, where she provides birth and postpartum support as well as spiritual education and coaching for Black women who've experienced religious, sexual, and birthing traumas. In our conversation today, we're going to be talking about how sexuality and spirituality are deeply connected in birth and beyond, why religious trauma can actually become a gateway to spiritual rebirth, and an urgent need for orgasmic birth in the Black birthing world. So join me in welcoming Zina. I can't tell you, I've been waiting so much for today. And just to let our listeners in, they're going to be listening later, but we're recording today on your birthday. So I have to say a big happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Deborah, for the beautiful introduction. And I also must add that I am a graduate of Chicago Volunteer Doulas here in Chicago. Yes. So
Fantastic.
yes, that's my cohort, my tribe. So I had to shout them out, the women who I have been journeying with for these past few months who have changed my life. So
Yeah. And you're changing so many people's lives. I always say, right? We keep birthing it forward, all that
yes,
wisdom.
yes, indeed, indeed.
So I want to dive in because we have a lot to talk about, and I had such a pleasure of getting to spend time with you in our Orgasmic Birth Practitioner program. And you talk about the deep relationship between sexuality and spirituality. Can you
Yes.
share how you see these two forces intertwined, and kind of how did that show up in birth or preparation for birth?
Yes, yes, beautiful question. So, before we move forward, I just wanted to open up the space and to be able to give honor to Audrey Lorde, who on this day, August 25th, 1978, delivered a paper called The Erotic as a Source of Power. And that paper has been a foundation for Altar of Love, Black Erotic Rebirth. And so I wanted to just honor Audrey Lorde as one of my cultural and theoretical and Black feminist ancestors. So I want to read a quote from her from that paper. Um, and she writes, "The erotic resource within each of us lies in the deeply female and spiritual plane, firmly rooted in the power of our unexpressed or unrecognized feeling. In order to perpetuate itself, every oppression must corrupt or distort those various sources of power within the culture of the oppressed that can provide energy for change. For women, this has meant a suppression of the erotic as a considered source of power and information within our lives. So that for me is the entry point of the erotic as a source of spiritual power, a source of emotional power, and this connection, this reconnection to our hearts and our feelings and our spirits. Because how many times um, as women that we are silenced, that we are suppressed um, because of that natural intuitive part of us that that a patriarchal society or culture doesn't know what to do with. So it's like, oh, these women, oh, they're feeling, they're bleeding, they're forget them. But it's like, but no, this is such an integral part of um, the feminine experience, is to be intimately connected with our hearts, with our feelings, because that leads us and it guides us into having a deeper connection to nature, to earth, the universe, the cosmos, and to ourselves. And so when you cut a woman off from that, it becomes a source of victimization, a source of powerlessness, and a source of oppression. So we fast forward and we move our vehicle into the birthing space, and you have women, and I'm going to speak from the Black woman cultural perspective because that's all I can speak from. So from the Black woman's cultural perspective in birth, it then becomes more more highlighted, because it's like you have this birthing person having this intuitive experience that that she doesn't really know how to articulate, or she doesn't know how to sit with, um, in terms of being able to feel safe within her body, within her experience, to be able to have a pleasurable, loving, orgasmic, erotic birthing experience. Because in this medical system, in this medical setting, there has been a severing. There has been a severing of the Black woman from not only her body, but also from her spirit, from her feelings, from her intuition. And so that creates a whole nother spiritual dynamic that that a lot of medical practitioners don't even know how to address. And so that's where I come in, an altar of love, Black erotic rebirth, because I have been trained, to be able to walk Black women or Black birthing persons through this sacred spiritual, political, uh, societal, cultural journey. It's like all of those things in one, which is so exciting about this space for me.
Yeah. And, I can just, one, I have to say, I love Audre Lorde too. So thank you for starting us with that really beautiful, empowering quote.
Mhm.
Also, for sharing, your perspective as a Black woman and how this comes together. And I'm wondering if you could offer just a tip or two. I know you walk with people. Part of that comes from your own personal journey, right?
Yeah.
Of
Yes.
developing that healing, and you're now helping others on it to bring that together. Can
Yes.
you share a bit more on a tip or your own journey?
Yes, yes. So for me, for my journey, my personal journey as a Christian, I was a Christian for 10 years. And I even went as far as joined a Christian cult for 2.5 years. Yes. So that just goes to show the level of devotion that I have in my heart when I'm passionate about something and I believe in something. And so for me, those experiences definitely shaped me and they left a mark on me. And once I was able to, and I even went to seminary school, so that wasn't enough. There was more besides. So I went to seminary school for I think it was like a year and a half, and did chaplaincy work and things of that nature. And for me, that's when it started to really hit me. Also, too, after a series of losses, losing my mother, and then my grandmother, and then my cat, and then my great auntie. So it was like all of these things. But within those experiences, um, they were really like cracking me open, like emotionally, for me to be able to look into my own heart to see, like, Zina Grace, are you happy here? Is this aligned with you? um is your soul happy? And so for me, when I really had the courage to ask myself those questions and to get honest with myself, the answer was no. And so I had to make those necessary adjustments. So I guess if I had a tip, I would say that that intuition, and having that honesty, like having that self-awareness to say, this isn't really aligned with me anymore. And since it's not aligned with me anymore, how do I then do something else that is nourishing, that is fulfilling, and that is affirming? And I think for a lot of people that can be scary because it's like we're digging into the shadows, like I'm really into to cycle I'm into psycho analytical readings and thoughts, Carl Jung, and his theories about the shadows and the unconscious. And so that's kind of where we get into a lot of those murky, dark things that we don't want to address in our psyches. But it's necessary if we want to change and if we want to be happy and fulfilled.
Are you curious about enhancing pleasure and easing discomfort in labor? Orgasmic Birth and Dame present the Pleasure Vibe Fin, a waterproof vibrator designed to empower your journey through pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Boost your oxytocin, ease discomfort naturally, and transform your birth into an empowered and even orgasmic experience. Plus, support postpartum healing and reconnect with your body. Are you ready to embrace the power of pleasure? Click below, learn more, and start your transformation today. Such incredible, journey, right? Where wounds become pathways to healing. And I thank you for sharing, your losses. I'm sorry for them, but your journey and how this is bringing you into that rebirth kind of in a sense. So, what other ways would you say that this kind of reclaiming their own sacred power can help people in birth, doing this healing journey?
Yes,
How
yes,
does
yes.
that impact them when it comes to their birthing time?
Yes, yes. So I believe um that the birthing process and the birthing journey is inherently a spiritual experience. Um and I think once we have divorced that spiritual aspect from childbirthing, I think that's when we run into a lot of issues, especially, like I said, when you look at the history in the culture of Black women and their birthing experiences in this country. Everything has been from that standpoint of enslavement. Your body is not your own. Your womb is not your own. Your womb is a place in which the colonizers and enslavers can make money. There's no room for love, there's no room for spirit, there's no room for, and there's just no room for it. So it becomes very sterile, it becomes very medical, it becomes very hostile. And then fast forward, and we're putting Black women in these spaces, and it's in these environments that have historically caused pain and trauma. And you're trying to connect with yourself. You're trying to connect with this human being. You're trying to give birth to a human being when you were never looked at as being a human being in the first place. So all of that is percolating, underneath the surface, and we try to hide it, and we try to suppress it. But the birthing outcomes that we see for Black women or Black birthing persons who are giving birth, the Black maternal mortality rate, has been the highest in this country for Black women who are delivering within the confines of the medical system. And so therein lies the challenge to how do we, as doulas or practitioners, how do we hold a sacred space um, in the chaos and the history of the medical system and the medical institution. And so for me, that's when it comes back to empowerment. That's when it comes back to what can I do as an individual within this system to do all that I know how to do for myself so that I can support and nurture myself to be able to still give life when everything else around me is against me. So that takes a certain level of strength and confidence, um, and empowerment from within oneself, which is why I'm really big on intuition. I'm really big on attunement. I'm really good in terms of like slowing down, being present, being aware. It's okay. It's okay. I'm really big on comfort, providing comfort and nurturing, because that's also a lot of what I did in my chaplaincy work. I was the one who was there holding sacred space for people who had lost loved ones. And so for me, it's such a sacred holy experience to be part of. And I realize that it takes a certain posture. It takes a certain type of awareness and presence. And in our society and our culture, a lot of people are disconnected, moving too fast. A lot of people are distracted from their hearts, from themselves. So if you take a mother who has a lot of trauma, albeit racial trauma, religious trauma, sexual trauma, if you put her into a space or into a container where she is not feeling safe or not feeling supported externally, and then that plays a part on how she's able to show up for herself internally. It's like, how then do we support her in that, and creating a container of safety within herself that she can that she can retreat to, that's like a shelter, or a safe place. I've always been obsessed ever since a little girl, with this concept of home, with this concept of the heart, like with the whiz. It's like we go on these journeys that take us away from home, that take us away from our centers, from our hearts. And then it's like we have to have courage, like the cowardly lion. We have to go find our courage in these situations. Like the Tin Man, we have to give life to our heart so that they can beat again, so that we can feel, so that we can connect, so that we can love. Because I feel like ultimately that's what it's about. But in this culture, in this society, we have not learned how to be present and be in touch and in tune with our internal homes, with our hearts, because I'm a firm believer that home is where the heart is. So if you're trying to give a baby, if you're trying to give birth to a baby and you're not home, you're not at home with your heart, how can you connect? How can you bond with this human? And so for me, that's ultimately what it comes down to, and creating these safe spaces, for women, whether it's through, like I said, comfort, whether it's through nurture, whether it's as something as simple as bringing in a candle, to set the mood and set the ambiance. Let the fire, let the flame just burn away the pain. you know let you know let let us put on music, so that we could, so that we can connect, so that we can come alive, like, so it's all of these things. Let's dance together, because we're here together. We are alive, and mama, you about to have a baby. Like, so it's just these humane things that I would like to bring back into the birthing space, that that's missing. And so that's where Altar of Love, Black Erotic Rebirth has come from. That is where it was born.
Zina Grace, wow, like you gave us so much to consider, and I really appreciate you bringing us back to that history of racism that is tragic within our system, within our hospital,
Yes,
and really bringing your voice and your wisdom
yes,
into the ways that we can heal that collectively, individually. And I love that home is where the heart is, and the tools you bring to create that birthing environment that holds safety and love and respect and dignity for everyone.
yes.
I also know, and I want to move you into this next topic because you just have so much wisdom to share. And I know you've been passionate about bringing
Yes,
orgasmic birth into the Black
yes,
birthing world.
yes.
Why? Why do you think that's needed, and how are you bringing that in?
Why do I think it's needed? I feel like I've been doing a soliloquy um about that, because like I said, for me, um just on a personal, more intimate level, being born to a mother who had undiagnosed mental illnesses. um I think it was bipolar depression that she had, as a result of sexual trauma that she had as a girl, that she didn't really work through. And so generationally, um, intergenerationally, it was passed down to myself and my siblings. So that was what got me into the field of school counseling and mental health and my spiritual journey, because I always wanted to know, like, how do I heal myself? Like, how do I heal my heart? How do I get free? Like, how do I get better? How do I find joy? How do I find peace? Like, so I have just been on this journey ever since I was in my 20s, to find this place that I thought was out there, but it was really in here. So and then so I have that personal experience of my own mother, my own birthing origin story. And then fast forward to my studies. My bachelor's is in cultural studies with a Black World Studies minor. My master's is in Pan-African studies with a concentration in women gender studies, and then school counseling. So it's like these academic intellectual journeys really opened me up to the larger cultural experiences that birthing women in my racial and ethnic group had experienced. And so that was kind of what pushed me more into the doula space, and figuring out like, okay, I do not like that Black women are dying having babies. Like my own
Oh,
cousin that I helped to raise when I was in Oregon found out that she had preeclampsia having her first baby and nearly died. And so it was just like, and then that hit me like, oh my God, like I almost lost my cousin, like who I know, because, and so that kind of catapulted me off into wanting to learn more about what a doula does, like what is birthing, because for myself I had never been interested in having any children because of sex education class, um in which they showed us the videos of the girls screaming and having babies. And then I remember the instructor, she told us, remember, books before boys because boys bring babies. The 7 B's. I still remember that to this day. And for me, I was just like, that tracks, because I don't want to go through that experience. No, thank you. Doesn't seem like any fun. And later, I revisited it, as I got older, like, okay, well, maybe something had changed, but nothing had changed. I'm just like, I just don't have that desire to physically give birth. However, I love babies. I love mothers. I love children. I've dedicated my whole life to taking care of children. Apparently, I must love it. So but I felt like that was never really my calling, to have physical birth, but to be the person who supports the birthing person. And I always like to say, I was my mother's mother. So, I have a knack for mothering the mother. And so I was just like, okay, it seems like Black women could use some mothering. Black women can use some nurturing, some fun, some pleasure, some joy. Like, let's get to it. What we doing? And so that's what led me into like, okay, I love sex. I've always loved anything that had to do with sex and romance novels and love and all of the gushy stuff that had to do with love and pleasure and fun and joy has always been me. And so it seemed like a natural progression for me to go into the orgasmic birth program. And I was like, oh my. And also coming from my religious background where, it was like no sex before marriage. I have been abstinent for 14 years now. And so coming from all of that and then coming into this space, it's like, man, this is a great site for erotic exploration and play. Like, ooh, like I can play now. Like I'm an adult now. Like I don't have my mother down my throat. I don't have the church down my throat. I don't have nobody that's always time to play. Like, let's play. Let's let's love. Let's have pleasure. And so for me, that is what I want to bring into the birthing world and the birthing space, because everything is so destitute and dark, and it's the trauma, but it's like, okay, but what about, like, well, can we have some joy? Can we have love too? Can we have pleasure too? So for me, that's where I'm like, okay, I am going to be the one who takes the charge to get this party started, so to speak. Like, I've always been the DJ, like, just into music, DJing, parties, all of that has always been my jam. And so I'm like, ooh, this will be a great opportunity to be able to present to my people as an alternative way of birthing, as an alternative way of connecting, as an alternative way of healing. Because ultimately, that's what it has been about. It's about healing the darkness, like healing the wounds, healing the things that hurt, like transmuting them and alchemizing them. Because what I've learned is that life goes on, Zina Grace. Like, I have been in the depths of the depths. I have been in the valleys, the shadows, the darkness, the pits of hell. And I have had to bring Zina Grace up out of that to now. And so it's like, okay, this is my offering. This is my invitation to my people to be able um, to rise up in pleasure and orgasms, because that's what we deserve, because we're human too at the end of the day. A lot of our humanity has been stripped away, but it's like, I'm here to say that we're human too. We deserve orgasms too. We deserve love too, especially as Black women. Like, we deserve this, and it's time. And here we are.
Ashe, well said.
Yeah.
Just beautiful. And I know, Zina, I could spend hours with you
Yes,
because I
yes.
love you and your wisdom so much. And
Oh,
you're just
Debra.
shining for people that are listening and not watching. Like, you are just radiant. How can people find you and follow you?
Yes, yes. So I am right now currently on IG at Black Erotic Rebirth. That is kind of like my home base as I'm just figuring things out. Like, I have a business coach and a business mentor that's working with me on, like, okay, Zina Grace, you need a website, you need this, you need that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm really a professional. Okay, I have to get this together. So yeah, so that's like my acting hub. I also am in the process of starting like a blog and a YouTube channel as well. And then also people can email me, at altar of love doula services at gmail.com, or you could just shoot me a message on IG. Yes.
Thank you so much. And we're putting all of those in the show notes. So wherever you're watching or listening to, just look below when you have a minute so you can connect with Zina Grace. And Zina, I want to thank you for the powerful work that you're bringing forward through Altar of Love and Black Erotic Rebirth.
Yes.
Your revision also reminds us that birth is not only physical, but spiritual, erotic, and revolutionary, right? So,
Yes.
for our listeners, if you are inspired, remember you can join us inside the Orgasmic Birth Practitioner Program, where together we're transforming birth for families and communities worldwide. And Zina, thank you so much for joining us, especially on your birthday.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Deborah, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And for our listeners, you know I say this every week, but please rate and review us. Your rating and reviews not only mean the world to me and our team, but they help other people to reach us and spread the word. So together we can help people have more pleasure in birth and life. And I hope you'll join us on next week's episode of the Orgasmic Birth Podcast.